Okay, so today's discussion is about the is postback property. So first of all, we need to know what is postback. Postback is the way that from browser to web server the communication happens, and server send back the response back to the browser. So there is a round trip happen from client to server, and server sends back the response to the client. So that is called the postback property. So when we talk about on the page level, so page level has one property which is called isPostback. IsPostback property indicates it's basically a HTTP request property. So where we have seen the postback, which refers to a web page posting back to the same URL on the web browser. So with this definition, so let's understand isPostback property. So isPostback property returns true if the current HTTP request has sent by the user in the current session, and it is false if the user's interaction with the page is first time. So to see it, let us have a button here, and button, let me have a ID. So check postback. Okay, we'll say run at server, and we give this is not ID, actually this should be the text. The order to define the property does not matter. So we say ID equals to btn postback. Now if we see our design will have only the one button postback. Now let me write a code on the postback event. So for that I will just double click on this. It will take me to the code behind language, and this is associated. So this is our last lecture code. So as we don't have all this, let me remove everything from here. All right. So postback click. I'm not writing any code here. I'm interested to write the code here. So here what I'm writing, if not equals to is postback then response dot write this is first interaction with the page. Okay, I'll say else response dot write another postback happen. Okay, so let us see how it works. So when I execute my application, okay, so here you can see this is the first interaction with page. So this part is executed, means when I am requesting first time to the web server, it sends me the response. So this is the first time. So now, okay, so now let me click on the button. So this is the first interaction with the page. Now I'm clicking on the button. So whenever I click on the buttons, so button by default has a property which is called AutoPostBack. With that property, what it does, it sends the request to the server. It does not matter that I have written any code for the page click or not. What it does, it just do the postback. So when it do the postback, then again my page is reloaded. Or when my page is reloaded, this event get fire again. And because this is not the first time page is posting back, so this condition will false. This condition is false. Now it will go to the else condition and say another postback happen. So let me click on this. So if you see here that postback is happening, the page is getting refreshed, means it goes to the server and come back. So now you can see another postback happen. Now if I click one more time, so same result will come back. So the reason is because if we are getting the response from web server first time, then this condition is satisfied, which says is postback property. So is postback property helps me that to check whether it's the first time I'm interacting with the page or it's a multiple times. So there are a lot of controls which has a auto postback property, and with that property we can post back to the server again. So we will discuss, but this property is postback property is really important to check that my page is interacting first time or is there any another postback happen. So when I'm talking about this request and response, so the response dot write. So response dot write is the response which is basically HTTP response. When we use this output with the response dot write, we can format it as well. For example, if you want to put a bold here, we can put a bold. Okay, and if you want to put a break, and if you want to print something else, you can write multiple response dot write. Means you can write your HTML over here. I'm saying break, and then again if you want to put a bold or not. So let me put a bold again. Hi from so. Okay. Let me build it. Let me refresh here. So here you can see the output. So I have formatted the response.write. So response.write, you can use the formatting of the HTML tags. Response.write is also important with redirections. For example, I want to go from page 1 to page 2, or I want to go to some other website. So say an example, on button click, I'm saying response dot redirect. If I say http://www.gmail.com. So as soon as the I click on this button, so response dot redirect, what it will do, it will be redirected you to the gmail.com website. So if I run the application, okay, so if I click on this button, so it redirects to the gmail.com website. So that is the another use of response HTTP response. Okay, so the next thing that we want to discuss, I want to discuss here is the AutoPostBack property. See, there are many ASP.NET web controls which has the property called AutoPostBack property, like checkbox, radio buttons, TextBox, and by default it is set to false. Means I don't want to do a post back to the server. So if you set it to the false, so it disables that post back to the server. But in most of the cases, this is means the it's again depending upon the requirement what you are having. So if you need the post back functionality for that control which supports it, then you need to just make it true. So say an example, there is a checkbox and you are saying when I tick it, means when I select it, then I need a postback to happen. So these kind of things you can achieve using the auto postback property. Button, if is that one we have seen, when I clicked on that button, there is a postback happen. So button is also a control. So mean to say, if we want to make a control such that it has to post back to the server with some event handler, then we use AutoPostBack property equals to true. And if you don't want it, by default it is false. So let us see with the example how it works. So I'm removing this, or we can keep it, or let us keep it. This we don't need because we don't have this button. Now let me go over here into the source. Let me have a text box and say ID equals to txt AutoPostBack. That is the ID. We need to put run at server because it's a ASP control, and let's have a break. So I'm not setting AutoPostBack property at this moment. I'm saying one beer and ASP, there is a list box, and ID I'm setting LST text box data run at server. So now I have two controls. One is text box and another is list box. So what I want to do, whenever I write something into the text box and I come out of this, that value should be entered into the list box. So for that, if we see the design here first, so this is our design where we have a text box and a list box, and this we already had. So on the text change event, so if we see, this is the list box it is selecting. Now I want to select the text box. So if you see here, AutoPostBack property equals to false by default. So I click on this tab which indicates event, and I go to text change event. Just double click on this. So it will create a method for this. And here what I want, in the list box, I want to add the data. So I say list box dot items dot add. What I want to add, whatever the data I am entering into the text box. At what time I want, when there is a text changed. So text change is an event which get fired when I enter some value and come out from the text box. So let us see without postback property, where auto postback property is false, whether it is happening or not. So if I run the application, okay, so this is my text box. I'm writing text1, and I'm coming out of it. Now my list box is selected, but item is not added. So let us see what we have done here. We have the code which is for the text change, but we did not set the AutoPostBack property equals to true. Now what I'm going to do, I'm setting up that property for the text box. So I'm saying AutoPostBack equals to true. So by default it was false. Now let me build it again and refresh my page. Okay, now AutoPostBack property is true. I'm adding here text1 and I'm coming out of this. So now you see postback is happening. So text1 is entered here. Now I will put one more text2. So again the postback happened, and also you notice that another postback, which is when the postback property equals to true. So by changing AutoPostBack property false to true, now it is sending the request to the server again and coming back. So this is the behavior change when we set the AutoPostBack property equals to true. So